What is going on, everybody? My name is the legendary LaShawn, and I am back at you with another legendary video. And today I kind of wanted to just talk about ego and standards, the differences between them, and why I kind of feel like standards is way more important than having ego. Last time I was talking about kind of what I wanted to do with the channel in general, and how I kind of wanted it to be a space for like casual people to kind of just hang out or whatever and just talk about certain things and kind of talk about different mindsets when it comes to the greatest gaming genre that I feel, which is fighting games, right? So first, we should probably, I guess, start off, I guess, by defining what is ego and what is standards when it comes to fighting games, right? Like, what exactly do I mean? So, by definition, right, ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or, like, self-importance or whatever. Like, that's pretty much the textbook definition of ego, right? Kind of how you feel about yourself and like where you rank, your level of importance, and kind of how you feel about your overall abilities and quality. Excuse me. So standards, excuse me, I kind of am getting over a little bit of a virus here. So standards is a level or I guess you could say quality, like, quality of, I guess, like a certain, I guess if you're talking about products, like, products or whatever else, or the, I guess quantity or quality, not quantity, the quality of your abilities when it comes to fighting games, right? And it's very important to differentiate the two. And here is why, right? They both are important, right? But they kind of focus in, they kind of operate when it comes to fighting games in different different aspects, right? So when I think about ego, the first person that comes to mind is Mike Ross, if anybody is familiar with that old school fighting game player, right? I believe he was originally a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 player, and I remember he's most widely known for Excellent Adventures with Gootecks, and his E Honda run in, I can't remember exactly when that was. That 2010? I can't remember exactly when Mike's E Honda run was, but pretty famous fighting game player, right? So Mike was the type of player where he felt as though he could not be messed with. Like, nobody could touch him when it came to fighting games. And because of that, it allowed him to, pull off some really great moments. Some of the things that come to mind, actually the one defining moment that came to mind to me was him versus K-Brad, which is another old school fighting game player, when it came to the show called Capcom Pro Talk, which would come on Twitch on Wednesdays, I believe. If I remember correctly, it's been so long that I can't even remember. This was in the kind of like Street Fighter 4, it ended in Street Fighter 5 kind of era, I guess you could say, right? And so, because of this, like, it really caused him to tilt a lot of players, to never doubt himself, to kind of keep things really, really hyped, right? The problem comes in, though, is that it also caused Mike to be a little bit too certain of himself and to be a little bit too proud in the way that he played. It allowed him to make really bad mistakes that could cost him the set, the game, or whatever have you, right? Now, I compare that to standard, right? And what is standard? Again, it's the quality or attaining a certain quality of something, right? And so when it comes to the standards in fighting game, what I'm really talking about is what standards you have as a player. Now, that can vary from a bunch of different, ranges and stuff like that. Some people want to keep it hype. They want to see cool stuff happen. They always want to be doing the sickest combo, the sickest reads, all of that good stuff. Again, that's something that a player like Mike Ross would kind of base a lot of his gameplay around, was reads, was being able to know what his opponent wanted to do, that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's also having fundamentals, understanding how the fighting game works. What are its different systems? How do they interact? What beats what? What gets around what? How many different options do I have, right? And so when it comes to fighting games, again, it's important to differentiate the two because they're two separate things. And again, they're both important, but I'm going to say this very, very plainly. Ego is extremely dangerous. If you need to understand why, the best the best thing I guess I could do to explain it to you is actually not going to come from me. It's going to come from this YouTuber called Core A Gaming on this video called the effects of salt. I believe it's either the effects of salt or why players get salty. It really goes into like the term salt, what salt means, and why it's so important, right? Essentially, salt just comes from either somebody doing what you don't want them to do or you getting potentially figured out. Pretty much you not liking how the match is going. It could come from maybe somebody perfecting you. It could come from somebody continuously, time and time again, having reads on you, right? Nobody likes to get read like a book over and over again because it makes them feel predictable, and it honestly makes you feel like you don't know what you're doing in a game, and that's understandable, right? But this is the problem where ego comes in. Ego will tell you, depending on where your ego is, ego will tell you, yo, I didn't do anything wrong. This player is just a scrub. Now, could that be true? Of course it can, because there's plenty of scrub players out there that don't know what they're doing, but a lot of the scrubby stuff that they do, or maybe that they got in their arsenal, is stuff that they got from other players. What do I mean, right? In the Street Fighter 4 era, when YouTube was really picking up, you could post these videos of what's called tech in fighting games, right? And so tech was, you know, different things that would kind of, be kind of specialized in the system, or would kind of, maybe would exploit certain systems and stuff. So things like option selects, you know what I'm saying? Things like unblockables in Street Fighter 4 and everything like that. Now, let me be clear. There were certain things that happened in Street Fighter 4 where it wasn't really unblockable. People just had to learn how to be able to block it. But there were true unblockables in Street Fighter 4 and also in games like Marvel vs. Capcom. There's unblockables in a lot of different games. But the point is, when this type of thing would happen, it makes players salty and it bruises their ego because it's like, well, that's not fair. They're using something that they should not be using, right? Now, when it comes to online, that's understandable, right? When it comes to winning, who knows? Let's say 3,000, 4,000. I mean, now with Capcom, with the Capcom pro scene and everything, you get $1 million, right? It's not really $1 million because of taxes, but you get the point. But heck, even if you're playing for $20 with your friends or whatever else, right? The goal is to win. Essentially, you know what I'm saying? There are clean and dirty methods, but just like real life fighting, Street Fighter is all about fighting, right? So, even when you look at the character archetypes and stuff like that, you have Ryu, the pure individual who goes off of fundamentals, who goes off of footsies and stuff like that. And then you got somebody who's a scumbag like Bison or Vega or Balrog. You know what I'm saying? Bison goes off of power that is supplied to him from other people. His power is supplied by other people's negative emotions. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not exactly his power, really. It's the power that is supplied from just all the negativity that's pretty much going on in the world at any given time, right? And so people could look at Bison and be like, oh, he's a scumbag. And it's like, well, yes, he is. But that's his character, right? And that is who he is. That is his standard. His standard is to win by any means necessary. Bison doesn't have any honor, right? And because he's a villain, it's not on him to have honor, right? You're going to experience certain players that are online just to win, just to get the W. They're not trying to learn how to become better players. They're not trying to learn the game. They might not even have a love for the game, maybe like you do. And guess what? That is okay. Do you want to know why? Because you're going to be able to outlast them and to be able to go farther than they can because you are always learning. Remember, you learn more from a loss than a win. The loss is what teaches you what you did wrong. All the win teaches you is that you made the right decisions, right? So, this is where standards comes in. The reason why I say that standards are more important when it comes to fighting games is because when you have a standard, right, you're going to look at that loss and say, all right, I need to go into training mode. I need to be able to see what it is that I did wrong, right? Or maybe I could try to, research this, look on Twitter, go on YouTube, see if anybody else has encountered this unblockable setup, see if anybody has encountered this, whatever, glitch in the system, whatever you want to call it, this cheap thing, so that I can learn how to counteract this, right? What that does is it gives you better determination as a player so that things like that don't easily phase you. And that's important, right? Because if there's any casual people that maybe do want to go the distance, that want to be able to learn more about the fighting game, heck, maybe they're even thinking about going pro, you need to be able to have endurance. You need to be able to lose one match and very quickly adapt to what's going on. You need to be able to analyze yourself and be like, okay, he's setting me up this way, right? For instance, even if he's doing something that you've never seen before and you're like, okay, well, for instance, I was in a corner, I didn't have any drive gauge, and I got, stunned in the corner or whatever else, right? You could look at that and be like, oh man, this sucks, this is so unfair, and da-da-da-da-da. Or you can really analyze, hey, did I really have no other option than to be able then to take this mix-up? Did I have no option than to just stand there and get drive impacted with no drive gauge, right? Or did I have bar? Was I maybe trying to, buffer my super input so that I could be ready? Was I looking out for certain strings? Do I understand what strings from my opponent go into a drive impact situation? Do I know the breaks and the combo? All of these things are standards, right? Because what you're doing is you're reflecting on yourself. Your standard is to become a better player. Again, this is not for the person who is just out here trying to just get matches and just trying to be the best person online, right? For any of the people who don't know, Gootecks from Excellent Adventures used to have this saying, and a lot of fighting game players used to have this saying, and they would say that online is studying. Online is the refining process of how you learn certain things, what to look out for, all of that good stuff, right? But the tournaments, when you actually go out there and you face other people offline, because understand, online, you have the natural input lag that just comes with the game, but then you have the lag from certain monitors, you have the lag from people playing on Wi-Fi, and whatever the connection is, right? From offline, the only lag that you're going to have is whatever the game comes with, and whatever the monitor allows you to do. Now, of course, if you're at a good tournament, you're probably going to have the, best, whatever quality is going to work best for the game, that's going to be what you're going to have, where you don't have long input lag, right? And so at that point, you're not going to be able to get off the stuff that you do online. Certain mix-ups, certain setups and stuff that are fake, or certain block strings that are fake, are not going to work the same. They may work against lower ranked players, or not lower ranked players, because this is real life, but it's going to work against players that are not as experienced, right? And so this is essentially why I'm saying that standards are better than ego. Even if you take what's happening in this match, right? I lost the match, and, I lost it due to, factors, me not being aware, me not wanting to block, being impatient. All of these are things that I did wrong. You know what I'm saying? I messed up. And at the end of the day, I have to be able to learn from it. Why? Well, because at the end of the day, as long as I continue to learn from it, I'm going to run into this player. I think his name is Jackie Jan. I'm going to run into him again. It's online. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many players that are playing at a time, and we're going to run into each other again. And when we do, if I apply the things that I learned from this situation, then I'm going to be ready. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it can be very hard because, again, ego is important. It's very important to have confidence in yourself. Even, again, if you look at a player like a player that I mentioned before, somebody like Mike Ross, or even if you want to currently talk about people like Punk, Mena RD, these guys know their stuff, and they know that they know their stuff. When they're going up against their opponents, they are confident that they have accurately studied the game to the point where they're going to be able to win. That's their ego, right? But they also have a certain standard where if I lose this match, heck, if I lose the game, or even if I lose the set, I am not going to allow myself to just stop here, and I'm not going to blame the game. And so it's important to make sure that you have standards and not as much ego. So that's going to do it for this video. You know, just kind of talking. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.